What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another match preview, and it is a biggie this week. It is Tottenham against Liverpool in the first leg of the Carabao Cup semi-final. And yeah, look, every game that we progress into the Carabao Cup, we say this is our biggest game of the season.
Yep.
Well, this is most definitely our biggest game of the season. Can we take something to Anfield? All will be revealed in the match preview very, very soon. But we're going to get into a Tottenham update first and foremost. We've got some transfer situations to talk about, and also injury updates as well, where Ange's been going through the press conference, and also an update from Paul O'Keefe. But the injury situation at the moment, Richarlison is in training, but he said in the press conference we want him to have 2 solid weeks of training. So if he gets through next week, he'll be fine. Fraser Forster returned to training today, but it sounds like Brandon Austin or Antonin Kinski will start in goal against Liverpool. Mikey Moore could potentially be on the bench as well, as he's pretty much back. And Radu, Archie and Deki look like they've overcome sickness as well to be fine for the game tomorrow night. And Paul O'Keefe, in a worrying update, says that Odegaard is miles off and he's going to probably return late in the season.
Yeah, which is gutting, because you were expecting probably a February-ish return for him, and sounds like it's going to be even further than that, which maybe means why we're even more desperate to dip into the market for a forward. Not because as well we need probably an upgrade there as well, regardless of injuries, but with Odegaard out for so long, with Richarlison's fitness unreliable, albeit hopefully he'll be back next week. Yeah, we need another forward, so really, really worrying. Hopefully Mikey Moore, he can start making an impact again from his return, which is really, really good. Obviously, it's just the way things are going at the moment with Tottenham. You get Bentancur back, and then we lose Maddison and Sarr for a game. So 1 in, 2 out. It's just the way things are going for us at the moment. We can't seem to just get players back at any one time. Hopefully, for Tamworth, I bet you Tamworth we have a fit squad, and then come the North London Derby, we'll probably have some players out again. But that's just the way things are at the moment. In terms of Richarlison, it's interesting what you were saying about him, saying, you know, they're trying to be super careful with him, which is what they said last time. But he said this time they're trying to make sure he has 2 kind of full weeks training before they bring him back into the fold. And he said this has been his first week, and next week will be the second week, and then they'll bring him back. So I wonder whether they'll bring him back in for the North London Derby, or be the game after that. I guess they'll bring him back in.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just depends how he gets on in training as well. But I think the plan will probably be to take part, to be on the bench for the North London Derby.
Yeah, be on the bench for the Derby. That's what I would assume as well. So,
but you look at the Derby's only a week away. It's not
correct.
2 weeks away.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's saying 2 weeks.
He said 2 weeks full training. So he's been in full training this week. So whether
has he been in the whole week, or has he just returned like in the last couple of days? I don't know. Maybe on the bench for the North London Derby, but there's still big games after that with Everton away and stuff like that. So whether it be the North London Derby or the game after, he's nearing a return.
Yeah, and you were saying we hope to have the defenders, some of the Davis, Van de Ven and Romero all back in a bit of a clump near the end of the month. So look, let's hope that they're... Look, we need them back. We know that.
Yeah.
It was interesting hearing him talk about left back, signing a left back in this window. He was saying, look, we're looking for someone who can help us right now, but we've got Davis who can play left back. Obviously, Spence is there at the moment as well, who we haven't really used. Hopefully, we'll have Romero, and also Van de Ven can play there when he's back as well. So he said, I guess we'll set it when the players are back, but hopefully we get a player in that position this month.
Yeah, you'd hope so. Yeah, so interesting stuff. Regarding on Ben Davies, I've heard that he's targeting a North London Derby return as well. So, yeah, I feel like Ben Davies will probably be the first of the defenders back, and then maybe later on in the month. I think they're going to err on the side of real caution with Mickey van der Ven, and then Romero will come back a similar time as well. Son Heung-min, Spurs officially announced that they have triggered the extension in his contract, so he is going to be at Spurs at least guaranteed now for another season, which is very, very positive. I don't know why they've taken so long to announce it, to trigger it, and everything.
So long, haven't we?
I know, it's like all the journalists have been saying for the pretty much last 6 months that this contract's getting triggered, it's getting triggered. And yeah, it's finally official now. And Ange said in the press conferences, the main ambition is to make sure he finishes his career here with some silverware.
Yeah, I think that's what we all want. And I think that's obviously something that we're all clamouring for. I think it's a good thing. I think we should have given him a new deal. Obviously, I'm guessing his form this season has meant that we're not so sure about extending the deal rather than just giving him an extension. I always thought they'll just give him an extension given how things have gone this season. Not that he's been terrible, but obviously he hasn't been at his best. We know that, especially in the recent weeks. In terms of his numbers, I mean, they're still fairly strong. 5 goals and 6 assists, so 11 goal contributions in the first half of the season. It's not bad, but, you know, Sonny, we know, although some of the performances he's been anonymous, he's probably been worse than usual in some other performances as well. And especially right now, the past like 3-4 games, he's been in really, really bad form. So I think at this current stage, probably an extension is right, I would say. If he has let's say he has a really good end to the season, maybe at the end of the season, they'll talk about a contract extension if he does really, really well. Mike McGrath has even said that Barcelona were seriously sniffing around him this January for a pre-agreement if Tottenham didn't agree. And that's one of the ones I actually genuinely believe, because Barcelona are a club right now who are just so strapped for cash that they, and as much as obviously Sonny brings quality to their front line, but as well what he brings off the pitch will probably be very valuable to a club like Barcelona right now in terms of their financial situation. So I do really believe that link in terms of why they value the signing of Son so much.
We got, you know, with Rafinha and Yamal, and, you know, they've got other players in the forward line there. I'm looking at as well Barcelona. They could sign him all they want, but will they be able to register him?
I don't know. I mean, there's no transfer fee. Obviously, probably would there. It would be on a free, but the wages he'd demand. I don't know. But my point is, with their financial situation, with what Sonny would bring to them, I can understand why they'd be really interested, because he would bring a lot for them off the pitch in terms of a boost in revenue. But look, it hasn't happened. Sonny's going to be here for at least another 18 months, and that's really, really great. And let's hope we can break that silverware. That silverware drought. Yeah, let's hope we can break it, because if anyone deserves a trophy, it's Sonny, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
And I think he's still got so much to give. I think we've seen that.
I think so. Yeah, look, he's not having the greatest season, let's be real, but I still think, like, if you manage his minutes, he's going to have so much he's still got so much quality to give. And obviously he's doing his best work in kind of help Heung-min bed into the club as well. And
saw that clip?
Yeah, I did see that clip.
Them
with them training together.
yeah.
Yeah. So look, he's got a lot more. He's got a lot of quality to give. Is he the same player that we saw 3 years ago, 4 years ago? Obviously not. But does that mean that he's automatically just a bad player now? No chance. He's still a top quality player. And in terms of like finishing and quality wise, I think he's still, you know, one of the best, if not the best in the squad.
Yeah, agreed.
Let's talk about specific transfers now. And this next one, a publication out in Brazil, I think it was, says that Tottenham have had a bid rejected by Palmeiras for Colombian midfielder Richard Rios. Rios could remain in Brazil until the end of the season, when Palmeiras will plan to sell him after the FIFA Club World Cup this summer. I mean, look, I'll tell you the truth, I don't know much about him. I mean, I don't know anything about him, because before this report came out, I'd never heard of him before. But we are looking at that market, apparently.
Yeah, I don't know how true it is, because you hear some reports out in South America, and sometimes you know they're not so reliable. But no one else
better than Turkey, mate.
That's mate, probably. But no one reliable in Europe anyway has been reporting on a bid rejected. However, if you take it at face value, he's a midfielder who's kind of can play in the 6, can play in the 8, has actually added quite a few goal contributions this season to his game as well. He seems to be really developing that side of his game, but he's also known as being a bit of a midfield destroyer. So maybe he's one of those players that we're looking at to add that bit more skill to midfield that we've been looking for. So I can understand why we're looking at midfield, although we've also heard that midfield's not a priority for us this window, with our lack of numbers in defence and need for improvement in attack. So I wouldn't be surprised even if we did make a bid, it's more of a, will we sign him with a view of him coming in the summer.
How old is he?
He's 24, I think.
Oh, he's 24, so he's not even like a proper youngster. Interesting. I mean, I'm seeing the reports as well doing the rounds that Juventus are looking to get rid of Douglas Luiz, and a few Premier League clubs are interested in him. I mean,
apparently 2 have made an inquiry. They didn't say which 2.
I know.
Probably Arsenal, because they were interested before.
Arsenal have been interested. Would he go back to Aston Villa?
But then again, Arsenal have already signed other players. They've signed Moreno now. They've got Rice and Partey. Do they really need him?
Yeah, but also Partey is in his last year of his contract, and we don't know what the future holds there.
I'd be surprised. Maybe Chelsea. They can add a number there.
Maybe, but I mean, I was thinking about it. I was like, Spurs need to be looking at that. They need to be looking at that. Imagine, like, I was thinking about the midfield options for Spurs, and I would right now, swap Bissouma and Bentancur for Douglas Luiz and Johnny Cardoso. I think that would be a great move for us to do.
I would take Douglas Luiz. I thought he was brilliant at Villa last year. I don't know why it hasn't worked with him at Juventus. Motta just hasn't fancied him at all. I don't know why, but I don't know whether it's they don't rate his off-the-ball abilities. We know on the ball he's brilliant, and he scored a lot of goals last season. I know a lot from penalties, but you see what ability he has on the ball. But off the ball, he's also quite feisty. Wasn't a passenger, so I wonder why it hasn't worked out at Juve.
Looking at that deal now that Villa did for Douglas Luiz in the summer, what was it? It was 21 million plus Beranchea and Iling Jr. It's like none of those three players have worked out.
Yeah, and if anything, Villa have been the big losers because they could do Luiz, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, let's go back to more transfer news and let's go to the Daily Muani. As Ben Jacobs says that Tottenham are going to make a very strong push to get a deal for Kolo Muani over the line. David Ornstein says that Spurs see Kolo Muani as their top target for a versatile attacker, and Spurs want to loan him until the end of the season. And, you know, all the journalists now, Fabrizio Romano, Paul O'Keefe, David Ornstein, Benji, like all the top journalists now are really trying to push this Muani to Spurs narrative.
Yeah, and I was listening to Ben Jacobs yesterday on Last Word on Spurs and what he was saying, and he was saying that Man United have distanced themselves from Muani at the current time, but interesting enough, he said they distanced themselves because they only want him on a loan without obligation, and PSG are very much pushing an obligation. But if that's the case, do I see Tottenham going for an obligation to buy? I mean, I don't think they will, especially for the price probably PSG are looking for.
Apparently it's 50 million.
I think that Tottenham would very much be open to an option to buy. But I can't see Tottenham agreeing to an obligation, especially where for a player like Muani, where I don't think it's clear cut whether he fits the system right now. I think if on loan right now, considering with the lack of options up front and the January market not being great, I think it makes sense to bring him on a loan and take a punt on it. But to sign him permanently, you know, what happens if we do this loan with an obligation and for 6 months he just stinks the place out and he actually really isn't the right fit? Then we're stuck with a £50 million player right there. So. Unless we do an obligation on the basis of like he has to, if he scores 10 goals, then it becomes an obligation. Or like, let's say if we get Champions League next season, then it becomes an obligation. On that basis, I think Tottenham will probably do that, to be honest.
That's not an obligation. If Spurs get Champions League next season, then it becomes an obligation.
You win Europa League or whatever, you have like a mad second half of the season, then I can see Tottenham doing that kind of deal, right? But I can't see Tottenham just doing a straight-up obligation to buy. I don't think. However, what also Ben Jacobs was saying was that Daniel Levy has a really good relationship with the PSG chairman. He said they have a very close relationship, and he said if there's one chairman in Europe you'd want negotiating this deal with him in terms of getting a good deal for Tottenham because of their relationship, it would be Levy. So maybe they can iron out the certain financials.
You're saying he's the one chairman left in the game that Levy's got a good relationship with?
That's because he's not in the Premier League, that's for sure. And also, how many deals have we done with PSG? We signed Aurier from them. I can't remember too many other deals.
Lucas Moura,
yeah. So we're very good at taking their duds, basically. We're very good at giving them money for players they don't want.
Stambouli come from there?
No, we sold them.
We sold him to them, yeah.
So I think there's definitely legs in this, but I just look, unless there's those specifications I said, I just can't see us going for a straight obligation.
But it also depends how
another good point.
Internally, how much Spurs rate him. Like internally, they might, internally, Johan Lang, Paratici, Postecoglou might think he's, the absolute bollocks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they might.
And if they think that, then it might make sense to do it.
Yeah, and if they're convinced about it, then maybe we will. But I'm personally not. I'm not in the recruitment staff. This would just be my take. This is how I would do it. I wouldn't do it permanently. I would just do a loan. But maybe the recruitment are convinced by and think, look, if we have a chance, we have to grab it with both hands because this guy can really revolutionise our attack. I just can't see that right now. Maybe I'm wrong, but I do definitely think it's worth taking a punt on him because right now, in the January window, when it comes to getting forward players, as I've said before, it's a very hard market. You're looking at players either who are killing it for smaller teams, so you can get out of their clubs, but then you have to pay a premium, or you're looking for players who are out of favour at top clubs who you think could do a job for you, like we did with like Kulusevski and Bentancur. But with teams still in Europe, that's even hard to do as well. And there's not many players as good as like Moani out of favour at their clubs right now, who they're willing to let go. So, when one comes available, you have to look at it a lot. You have to basically, you have to give it a real serious look, I would say. So, I think that's what we're doing. And I think if we get a chance to get him on loan, I would do it.
Yeah. Next up, we're going to talk about Liam Delap, as Ben Jacobs says that Tottenham are very impressed with Liam Delap. There will be several clubs interested in the Ipswich Town striker. However, Chelsea will be the early front runners, but don't discount Spurs, is what he's saying. I mean, I think Delap is top quality. The more and more I see him play this season, the more and more I like him.
Perfect
Physical,
for us, I think.
yeah, physical number 9, really good in the air, young player as well. Premier League, it's like he's proper swimming in the Premier League as well in an Ipswich team that's fighting down the bottom. And I would love to see him at Spurs. I really would.
I would as well. I think he's a phenomenal talent. I think his strength and his powerful running is something that I can't see too many strikers doing right now, in terms of so much work he has to do by himself in that front line for Ipswich, and he just does it week in, week out until such a high standard. That performance against Chelsea really convinced me that this guy is going right, could be going right to the top. He's got unbelievable shooting, technique as well. The power he gets behind his shots from all angles. He's not scared to let fly, and he usually gets it on target and forces keepers to make a save, or obviously buries his efforts. And what he's doing for Ipswich this season is absolutely fantastic. I think as well, the work rate he goes through is absolutely brilliant. I think he's absolutely perfect for the number 9. Obviously, if we get Moani and we still got Richarlison, and obviously we've got Solanke up front, it's hard for me to envisage we sign another number 9 with that scenario. But if we mould Moani into more of a wide forward, and then obviously if Richarlison is out the door in the summer, then maybe that's one we'll look at. But I think as long as we have those 3, I see it. I mean, if we do get Moani, that is, I see it hard to envisage Delap being an option.
The thing is with Moani, if you mould him into a wide player, he can't. Like, Moani's not going to be a touchline winger. You need to make him like an inside forward, and that's not really Ange's system.
Well, you can do. I think he could do what Brennan does. Those back post finishes. I think Brennan this season's actually not been as wide as he was last season. He's definitely been in the penalty area a lot more. And if that's what he's trying to do with him, I think Moani could do that role.
He's rapid, Moani, isn't he?
He's fast.
Rapid.
He's strong. I do think technique-wise, in terms of his technical abilities, still. I know he's 26, and I don't want to call him raw, because at 26 he shouldn't be raw. That's kind of who you are. But I think technical ability-wise, it's not amazing, I would say.
Next, we're going to talk about Davide Fratesi. Bleacher Report says that Tottenham were presented with the opportunity to sign Milan midfielder Davide Fratesi this month. However, the player has rejected the move and wishes to remain in Italy.
So, I mean, it doesn't say that we were interested. It says we were presented the opportunity to sign him. So I don't know how much we were interested, but it also says he was the one who rejected the move. Either way, it tells me it's not probably happening. So
it's most definitely not happening.
So either way, I think, as we said, Fratesi is a good midfielder. I like him. Really good technical player. But I've heard, as we've said before, I don't think midfield is a priority this window.
And last but not least, another move that's not happening, and that is Abdul Qadir Kuzanov, as the Athletic report that Lions are looking for a deal in excess of 40 million euros, which means Tottenham are not expected to battle for the 20-year-old defender as things stand.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think Kuzanov clearly is a talent. He's got unbelievable pace.
Looks like he might be going to City.
Could be going to City. I mean, I'm still not convinced he's there yet. I think he's still a very raw talent, I think, Kuzanov. I think on the ball especially, he's brave, but I'm not sure the quality is quite there. Clearly, his technical ability, he's not technical, his physical attributes are unbelievable. But is it a lot of age?
I'm just saying Mickey van der Ven was a raw talent when we signed him, though.
He was a raw talent, but he'd also played a lot in the... he played a whole season in the Bundesliga, was really good. He also was a raw talent, and he turned out to be very, very good. I also think he's still got a lot of improving to do, Mickey. I don't think he's perfect, but he's clearly brilliant. Kuzanov, I think he's also a bit younger than Mickey, a couple of years younger. I would take a backup to Mickey for sure, but I don't know. Look, if he's 40 million, I'm not the one spending the money, but I still think I'm not 100% sure about him right now.
I would love to see him through the door. Just that pace. Just thinking of a back two of Mickey and Kuzanov. Literally, you can play on the opposition's box, edge of the opposition's box, and still have players to get back in time. But that's just me. But it looks like he is a big target for Manchester City for this January transfer window. So it looks like we will miss the boat on that one. But that is your Tottenham update for today. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts regarding all the news stories we brought to you today. And we will move on. We got just a small matter of a cup semi-final to talk about now. And we're going to start off with a predicted lineup. So we're gonna get the overlay up in a second and go through what we think is going to be the starting lineup at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium tomorrow night. What's people saying here? Barrett says Kuzanov is on different levels.
Different levels.
But big up to all of you guys. We've got 785 people in here with us. Only 45 likes, though. To scroll down, smash that like button, and let's get into the predicted lineup. It is Tottenham against Liverpool. It is the first leg of the semi-final. Can we take something to Anfield in a month's time? The injury news has been released from Ange Postecoglou via the press conference. And what have we got?
Yeah, so still hefty amount of injuries, unfortunately. We got long-term absentees in Romero, Odebear, Vicario, Van de Ven, Udogie, Ben Davis potentially back next week. He didn't say that, but that's what we've heard. So still many injuries to contend with. Bentancur is back from his ban, but we have Sarah Madison with a ban, so 1 in and 2 out when it comes to that. Fraser Forster returns from illness. He has been training. Decky apparently was feeling under the weather, and he's fine. Dragoshin has recovered well from his illness, and Archie Gray is a lot better as well. But still, as you can see, there are 10 first-team players. Well, actually, Fraser Forster's back, so 9 first-team players unavailable for this one. Richarlison's back in training, but he said that he wants to give him another 4 weeks training before bringing back to the fold, just because of what's happened before, and they want to be super careful with him. Mikey Moore could set to be on the bench as well tomorrow, so that's an exciting prospect as well.
Yeah, so
did mention Heung-min though. I don't know whether he's going to be involved.
Yeah, I just feel like they're just going to give him a lot of time to settle. I don't think maybe you'll see him against Tamworth, but I don't think we're going to see him against any kind of Premier League opposition for a while. But let's get into it. Let's start off with the goalkeeper. Big question marks about the goalkeeper this week. You've got Brandon Austin, the back of a man and match performance. You've got Fraser Forster back, and you've also got the new goalkeeper in Kinski. And in my opinion, I think they're just going to throw Kinski straight into the deep end.
Judging by what Ange just said in his press conference, he was asked this a couple of times by the journalist, who would you prefer? How are you going to go into your decision making when it comes to Austin, who played so well on the weekend, or Kinski? And he said, first of all, he said that Kinski was one that they rushed in January because of the goalkeeper situation. He said that was one that was earmarked for the summer, but because of the injuries and maybe illness to Forster as well, they kind of accelerated this deal for January. And he said as well that he's going to base this decision on how Antonin has settled in, given he's had 2 training sessions, and the fact that he also said that we've got European games that Kinski can't play in, so these other keepers like Austin and Forster are going to get opportunities anyway. So judging by those answers, I get the feeling that Kinski is going to get thrown straight in, and he is going to get his first start. And I think, for me, I don't mind it. I think if he's the best option and you think he's our best option of getting a result, then even if it's his first game, let's see what he does. Let's throw him in there. And I know that Austin did really well, but it is only 1 game. And look, to be fair, a part of me wants to reward him for that really good performance by playing him. But I also think it's a semi-final. If you think Kinski's the better keeper and you think he's our best chance of getting a result, put him in.
Yeah, but you've also said as well that from what you've seen from Kinski, he spills the ball a lot. And to spill the ball and to give away goals in such a high-profile game in a semi-final where it's literally, well, it's not do or die because we got to go to Anfield, but it's pretty much do or die because if we don't take anything to Anfield, we're going out. So, I don't know.
I feel like in this game that his bravery, we might need that. His ability on the ball, his ability to come out in certain situations. I feel like in this kind of game, if we're going to get goals and we're going to be really brave, I think we're going to need that kind of fearlessness that he might bring.
Yeah, I do get that. But I mean, as well, I think Brandon Austin pretty much had a flawless display last time out. So, in my opinion, I would put him in, but I do think Ange's going to go for Kinski. So we're going to go for Kinski in goal. Right back is going to be Pedro Porro, obviously, on the back of a best display in a while for him in the last game. I think against Newcastle, I think Pedro Porro comes in. It is the second game in the space of a week for him, so hopefully he can kind of stand up to the test because in the last month or so he's just been out on his legs, hasn't he?
Yeah, yes, and I remember he struggled in the last Liverpool game as well. I think the whole back line did. So I think he's been a lot better over the past couple of games. Maybe that rest has done him good. Unfortunately, with the doggy being injured now and Spence having to fill in at left back, I can't see him getting another rest until we bring another fullback. So unless we make use of Reguilon. But I think Porro definitely, we're going to need him in this game. And I think as well, on the ball, he's been a lot more creative past few games, creating more chances. And if we got a chance of, really hurting Liverpool, I think he's going to have a big part to play in that.
Moving on to the centre-back positions, I think we all know who's going to play centre-back, and that is going to be Radu Dragusin and Archie Gray. Both of them suffering with illness. I think Dragusin looked like to be suffering a lot more than Archie because he was really poor in the first half, had to go off at half-time. But Archie Gray, I think, did really well under all the circumstances, so I think it's going to be them too.
I agree. The only other option would be to put Reguilon in and maybe play Spence centre-back like he did in the second half against Newcastle. And fair play to Spence, he did quite well. But I think Radu, his performance was particularly poor on the weekend just because of that illness. I think you can really see physically he was struggling. I think if he's fully fit, you probably put him back in and hope that he can get a much better performance out of him, especially aerially and along the ground. Obviously, on the ball, still got big question marks on him. Archie Gray has done it and come in and done such a great job. Obviously, the major worry is how both of them were fully fit for the game at the Tottenham Stadium a few weeks ago against Liverpool and both completely got destroyed. Now, what I would say is, Szoboszlai, I thought, was a big part of that, and he's probably set to miss this game. I thought Szoboszlai really was competing with those two players and winning headers in crucial situations. And if he's not going to play, I don't know if they're going to have a similar threat aerially. So hopefully that can lead to them having a bit of a better game. But it's still Liverpool. They've still got other different threats, and it's still going to be very, very difficult. So, look, that's what we got at the moment. I just think we got to go with it, and let's hope that Kinski, if his passing ability is, as we've seen, maybe he can just bypass those two players and go a bit more direct to the forward line.
Yeah, absolutely. Kinski assist on his debut, that's what I'm saying. So that's a back three so far of Porro, Dragusin and Gray. Left back, it most likely will be Jed Spence at left back. There is a case to play Reguilon. However, I thought Jed Spence was poor when he was at left back. Jacob Murphy, I thought, gave him a really tough time. But then when we did play Liverpool a couple of weeks back, I know we conceded 6 goals, but I thought he actually did quite well up against Salah.
I agree. And I know Salah ended up, 2 goals and 2 assists or something stupid, but I don't think it was any of them were really down to him beating Spence to the ball or getting past him. It was more to do with him taking advantage of a bit of the chaos at the back. So I think Spence can come back in. I know Reguilon did well, but I think, Spence is going to hopefully be here long term. I don't think Reguilon is, and I think we just got to bed him in as much as possible and give him as much game time to get up to speed because he's a long-term option here. So I think Spence will be playing again.
Yeah. Moving on to the midfield, I think Bentancur back from suspension. I think he's a nailed-on player in the midfield.
Yeah, I think we probably do a double pivot, but I think definitely Bentancur comes in. So I think he's going to play kind of in either, whether it be the 6 or the 8, but probably the 6, I would say, because he's a bit more disciplined. But I think it'll probably be a double pivot of him, and I'm guessing Basuma in a pivot in this
Yeah,
game.
'cause
No
Sarr
Sarr, no Maddison.
Yeah, Sarr can't play, Maddison can't
So
play,
unless
but there
you've
is
got
Bergvall. I would really like to see Bergvall play this game.
So there's two options. You go Bentancur, Basuma, and Decky in the middle with Brennan on the right, or you put Bergvall and Basuma with Decky on the right. Or do you go with Bergvall? Or do you go with Basuma? Sorry, yeah, those are the two options really. Or you go Bergvall, Decky. Sorry, Bentancur, Bergvall, and Decky, and then Johnson on the right.
I think
And no Basuma.
personally, that's what I'd want to see.
Bentancur, Bergvall, Decky.
Yeah, Bentancur,
No Basuma.
Basuma did come on and looked good, but I don't know. I think Basuma's just been poor recently. I think
It's a big game, you know.
I know
you
it's a
want
big
that steal.
game. Yeah, I know, and I think those three players do bring that as well.
I think I'll do Bentancur.
I think he's going to put. I think what he's going to do. I think he's going to do Bentancur, Basuma in a double pivot with Decky in the middle. That's what I think
Johnson on
he's
the
going
right.
to do. Yeah, with Johnson on the right.
With Johnson on the right.
I think that's what he's going to do.
What I would do is I would put Bentancur, Basuma, and Bergvall, put Decky on the right, and then you have that option of you can put Decky back in the centre and have Johnson as a sub and have those fresh legs. And we know he's a bit of a super sub sometimes, Brennan Johnson. Whereas if you start Johnson with Decky in the centre, then if you need to change it, like who you bring on for Johnson, I really don't like when he puts Decky on the right. I don't like it when he does it
Late in games.
because he just seems tired and he doesn't have the energy like he does. Like I feel like when Decky's on the right, he needs all his energy to really be getting past players and make use of that space. When he's tired, when he has space to run into, he can't exploit it because it's the end of the game and it's a lot tougher for him. So I would prefer to start Decky there, and move him into the centre rather than have Decky on the centre and move him over to the right.
For me, I think it's a big shame that Maddison and Sarr are both suspended for this game because I would have started both of them. I would have started Maddison over Decky in this game because I feel like just Decky has just been not the Decky that we've known all season. I think he's been tiring massively. I think he's running on empty a little bit. And I think
He said he was suffering with illness though on the weekend.
it's true, but even in previous games to that, his energy levels hasn't been kind of what we've seen. So I do think tiredness and illness played a factor. Yeah, I just feel like Decky's running on empty a little bit at the moment. So
But he's going to have to play.
he will play for sure.
And it's a big game, you know. Decky will probably get up for it for this game. So, what do we do?
I think Bentancur, Basuma, Decky. I think it will be.
What with Johnson on the right?
I think so.
But he did he take off Bergvall early with a view of him starting this game?
Could be, but I thought he just took off Bergvall early to bring on, fresher players really in the last half an hour because he knew that a lot of the players were just running on empty. I know Bergvall wasn't, but Bergvall's a kid, so I feel like Ange's still biding his time with him.
All right, so we're going to go Basuma and Decky in the middle like that. And we're going to go Johnson off the right, as we've said.
So, I mean, if you ask me what I would actually like to see, I would like to see Bergvall start, and I think he actually deserves it. But that's just what I think Ange's going to do. But yeah, I think the other two spots pretty much speak for themselves. Big Dom up top. And I want to see us float more balls into him, man. Go and pressurise that Liverpool backline and get it into Dom's head. That's we haven't been doing that enough this season. We did it a lot against Newcastle last week, right? We saw a lot of joy from it. So let's try it again.
Yeah, I need Porro whipping those balls in. And Sonny as well. We haven't seen Sonny do enough of those crosses. And obviously, yeah, Sonny on the left-hand side, fresh off the back of a new contract. Is any maybe thinking that with the contract situation put to bed now, maybe there's some sort of uncertainty not there anymore, and maybe that can lead to Sonny being a bit clearer?
Nah, I don't think it's going to make any sort of impact. I feel what will make an impact is that he had a rest in the Newcastle game, came on with half an hour to go, so he doesn't have as many minutes in his legs this week. So hopefully that will have Son fresh and firing for this game. And we all know whenever we're dangerous against Liverpool, Son is at the heart of things. You know, he's one that can really exploit that high line. Along with Brennan Johnson, let's be real, Brennan Johnson, if he's on form, he can really exploit it as well. So yeah, Son needs to be at it, and he hasn't been recently.
I've got a feeling, I don't know if they'll play Conor Bradley or Trent, but I've seen when Liverpool have been exposed, it's always been down the side of Trent. That's when usually they
bloody were against Manchester United.
Yeah, exactly. But I've got a feeling he might go for Conor Bradley in this one. So either way, Sonny's going to have a big game.
Absolutely. So that is your predicted lineup. You got Kinski in goal, making his debut in a massive game. What a debut to come into. Semi-final first leg. A right back Pedro Porro, left back Jed Spence, a back two of Radu Dragusin and Archie Gray. We got Bissouma and Bentancur in the double pivot with Deki in the 10, Johnson on the right, Sonny on the left, and Big Dom Solanke up top. So that is our predicted lineup. If you think it's right, let us know in the comment section below, or what changes would you make to this lineup going into the game? I think the only kind of serious change you can think of is Bergvall coming in. That's the only one. Apart from that, I mean, the team pretty much picks itself, doesn't it?
Yeah. The only other thing is, could Deki play on the right? I think, did he start on the right against Liverpool in the 6-3, didn't he? And then Johnson came on. So we'll see which one he does. But yeah, I mean, that means that leaves us with options off the bench of Werner, Bergvall. Who else? Not really much else, is there?
Maybe Heung-min Hyuk.
Maybe Heung-min Hyuk, maybe Mikey Moore. I'm trying to see who else might be on the bench. No one really.
Yeah, slim pickings. But
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. These suspensions are really
Detrimental, yeah.
detrimental for us in this game. And we just, like I said before, we
Lancashire.
have to take something. We have to take something to Anfield. Otherwise, the game's done after this game. After this game. Yeah, but that's it. That is your predicted lineup. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below, and we'll move on to the match preview in just a second. But how are you guys doing so far? We've got a match preview and also review the Prem to get into.
Flegnut says, full strength, we are a better team than Liverpool.
That is pure delusion.
Go
that.
on, Flegnut.
That is near sim level delusion.
Come on. He's absolutely right.
Let's get into the match preview then. Tottenham against Liverpool, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, 8 o'clock tomorrow night under the lights. And it's got to be a big atmosphere, man. It has to be. We saw in the Man City game, we saw the Man United game, big atmospheres. And, you know, you couldn't have asked for pretty much a harder run in the Carabao Cup than Spurs have had. Man City dispatched, and it wasn't, at that point, Man City were winning games. So
Well, we broke their
that's what
run.
I'm saying. So, like, at that point, it was an unbelievable result. Like, if we would have beaten Man City in the Cup a week ago or 2 weeks ago, it would have been a big result, but it's like looked on completely different than it was at that point in time. Manchester United 4-3, obviously, you know, with a pretty much the same amount of injuries that we had now. We got that one done, so now it's the biggest test of them all, and it's Liverpool. And
Any hope with seeing Liverpool on the weekend?
you know, it
how
gave me a bit more. It did give me a bit
United-
more hope. It did give me a bit more hope, and I feel like Spurs as well. We do turn up a bit more for the bigger games than we do for the lesser games. But again, we played Liverpool a couple of weeks ago and we got absolutely torn apart. We conceded 6 goals at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and you know, in my opinion, the lead that we need to take there to go into the final, it's got to be at least 2 or 3 goals.
Look, I think that's going to be a big ask. I think at this point, you give me a draw. I know a draw isn't usually good enough to go to Anfield, and I know a draw's not really usually in this kind of situation good enough to go to Anfield and expect to go through. But I think, look, at this point, beggars can't be choosers. When we come back at Anfield in February time, we're going to have hopefully Van der Ven. We're going to have Romero back as well. Maybe a few signings through the door. Maybe we'll have Umwani. Maybe we'll have a left back available as well at that point. So
This is Anfield, though.
look, it's Anfield, but I'd rather have a go to Anfield with a full strength team and back my chances than try and win 3-0 in this game and lose 3-0. You know what I mean? So I think we got a better chance probably at Anfield with the better team, with our first team out, rather than tomorrow where we're really struggling. So I would, if you offered me a draw right now, I would probably take it. I think we have to keep the tie alive. We have to make sure we go to Anfield with something to fight for, and the game's still open for us.
I wouldn't take a draw.
I would. I think you have to. I think you have to right now, in my opinion. Especially if Liverpool are going to play a first team. I think you're just going to have to take a draw right now and keep the tie alive. Because at the moment, there's a chance we lose this game by 2 or 3 goals, and then it's really over. And we can't at least if you take a draw, the tie is still alive. at
Yeah,
Anfield.
it is still a lie. I get what you're saying. Obviously, it's much better than a defeat, obviously. But I just feel like a draw in this game against this Liverpool side, with the way they're playing at the moment, I feel a draw is just as good as a loss going to Anfield with.
I don't
really
agree.
believe
I
that,
don't
'cause-
agree. Draws never is, because you get a draw at Anfield, it goes to penalties and you got a chance.
Yeah, but are we really going to get a draw at Anfield?
Probably not. Boy, we got a better chance with our first team out of doing something. You know what
Yeah,
I
it's
mean?
true, but I'm just looking at the two teams, obviously, and first team or not first team, it's going to be such an uphill battle going to Anfield with a draw or a loss, both of them. Even with a 1-0 advantage going there, it's going to be an uphill battle. I'm not even confident going there with a 1-0 advantage.
No, I'm not confident with a 2-0 advantage.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm
agree.
saying, that
I
we need to
agree.
take 2 or 3 goals there to stand a chance.
I think if we take a draw, we stand a chance. I do. I'm not confident. We're not going to be favourites or anything, but if we take a draw, it keeps the tie alive. And maybe that little bit of confidence we can get if we get a few wins before that game at Anfield. We got our first team back, we get a bit of momentum. All of a sudden, it could all change. Tomorrow is going to be difficult, though. We know this. The defence we got there. Kinski may be making his debut. It's going to be very, very difficult to keep Liverpool out. I think we can hurt them. Especially if they do rest a few players. Maybe Van Dijk get to rest potentially. Maybe Salah get to rest. If that happens, I'm a bit more confident we can take the game to them, and maybe they won't be scoring 6 goals like they did in the game at the Tottenham Stadium in the league a few weeks ago. But I think at this point, the way the results have gone for us in recent weeks, you've seen how we've struggled. I just think the state of the squad right now with 10 players out, I would take a draw, because it's going to be very difficult to get anything more than that tomorrow.
Yeah, I agree with that. And obviously our record against Liverpool is absolutely horrific. Liverpool, on the other hand, a bit of chinks in the armour last week against Manchester United. Man U played a really good game, didn't they? And they turned up. And that's what we need to do. And it was at Anfield as well. So you got to give credit to Manchester United going into the lines then and pulling out a performance like that. I mean, yeah, I thought United could have even won that game. They really could have.
At the end, yeah.
But yeah, Spurs definitely up against it with all the injuries and everything that we have going into it. If you look at the form of the two teams, it's not something that you want to be looking at really at this moment in time. 14 goals conceded in our last 5, 6 of those were to Liverpool. They've scored 18 and conceded 7. Their away form, look at that, 4 wins and a draw in their last 5, where we haven't won it. When's the last time we won at home? Aston Villa in November, in the beginning of November. So look, everything.
We won in the cup.
Yeah, that's true. But everything is stacked against us going into this game. Everything. Form, quality, injuries, past head-to-head. Literally anything and everything is stacked against us going into this game. So we just got to go there as a fan base. We got to go to the stadium. We got to believe. We got to support the team. We got to support the manager. And we just got to sing our hearts out for 90 minutes and just hope for the best. I think that's pretty much all we can hope for.
And to be fair, knowing Tottenham, the way we play, you can't put it past us. You can't rule it out that they will go through a period where even we shock them a bit and get a couple of goals, very quick goals. We've done that. We did it. We even did it against them. Even I know it was 5-1, but we scored 2 very quick goals, and all of a sudden you're back in the game. We did it against Chelsea, and these are during periods where we've been really struggling and near our worst. So I don't rule out the possibility that we can definitely score goals on tomorrow, and even have periods where we take them by surprise and have them on the ropes for a bit. But obviously, are we going to be able to sustain it? Are we going to be able to keep them out? Those are obviously big questions, and those are things that also seem very unlikely. We've had periods like we did against Liverpool where we looked like they could score at every attack. So it's going to be a difficult day. I think it's a semi-final. I think the players will be up for it, and I think they know how important it is. I think Ange knows, especially given how our league form has gone, how important this game is. And if we can really if they can bring some joy back to the club by getting through in the semi-final, that can go a long way to turning around our season, I think. So I think this is a massive game. I think obviously the importance is even more heightened because we're 12th in the league, and that looks like it's going nowhere. So if we can get some joy in the cups and really go somewhere there, all of a sudden the feeling won't be as bad, I don't think.
We need to find some sort of extra levels in our players tomorrow, and I think, like I said before, the fans can act as a 12-man, really raise the levels and raise the performance of the player. And I'm looking at Sonny, because he can be the X factor for us, and he hasn't been good in the last 3 or 4 games, however long it's been. If we get a Sonny that is on it and that is just on form, or like plays a really good game of football, he could be the difference maker.
Yeah, I mean, look, we need to get him on the ball. If it is going to be Trent, we need to be just attacking that side ruthlessly. And if he's going to be inverting, and if he's going to be, going on walkabouts because he's such a threat in possession, we need to be exploiting that space. I thought United did that brilliantly. I remember Fulham went to Anfield and did that brilliantly as well and got a draw. So I think that is what we've got to try and do. We've got to try and look at that space and say we've got to target that. And look, let's hope they rest players. With them playing Accrington Stanley on the weekend, they probably won't, and they probably will go full strength knowing that they're going to rest players on the weekend. But maybe the fact they drop points on the weekend, that might be in the back of their mind. They've got Forest in their next league game. They could be thinking this could be a good opportunity to just give players like Salah and Van Dijk a complete week's rest. And then, because I think they definitely think the Premier League is way more important than this competition. I don't think they really care if they go out as much as they'll want to go through.
No, I think they do care.
I think they'll want to go through for sure, but I think they could do without the distraction. I think the Premier League and Champions League are paramount for them, and I think if they go out, I don't think they'll be that bothered. They've still got the Premier League to fight for. I'm not saying they're not gonna give their all, but I'm saying there's a possibility, given they drop points and they got a big game next week against Forest, they could think like, if we can just give Van Dijk and Salah a complete week's rest, or even just put them on the bench and not use them as much, that'll be a really good opportunity to do so. They might think, and also knowing that they've got a second leg at Anfield to come as well, where even if things don't go right, they can always change it and start Salah and Van Dijk in that game. There's a chance they rest those players, but they might not as well.
I think it's highly unlikely as well. I get what you're saying, and what you're saying is true in terms of where they value this competition. They value it below the Premier League, below the Champions League, probably below the FA Cup as well. However, now you're at this stage of the tournament in the semi-final, and now you've got a pretty much just a week or just under a week's rest to your next Premier League game, which is a massive game against Nottingham Forest, looking at the league table, which is crazy to think about. They're going to play their full strength team because they're at this stage of the tournament, right? And Arne Slot's first season. What an incredible way to start the season if you just get a trophy under your belt in February or March, and then that can kind of kick you on and like go and get that Carabao Cup, and then you've still got 3 more trophies to play.
But he might feel like they could rest players and still win.
Yeah. They probably could. And I think if this Forest game was this weekend instead of next week, midweek, I think they would have rested players. But now, because they've got Accrington Stanley in the Cup coming up this weekend and Forest midweek next week, I don't think they rest players.
I think, look, I'm not sitting here saying they're going to have kids. I'm just saying they might go with like a front 3 of like Jota, Gakpo and Diaz instead of Salah. They might play Quansah and Konate instead of Van Dijk. Just those older players who they've asked a lot of this season so far. They might just see this as an opportunity to give them a week's rest. I'm not sitting here saying they're going to. They're not. I don't think we're going to be sitting here tomorrow and when the lineup's announced, they're going to have McDonald or all these other kids, right?
Like they did against Southampton.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be like that. But you might see a front 3 of not Salah. Essentially, that's all I'm suggesting.
Yeah, and even if that's the case, man, we're still
we're still
much the worst side. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I don't think we come away with it going into favourites, even if that is the case. I don't think it's an advantage. Just it'll just be a bit of a relief if Salah and Van Dijk can't play, and gives us a bit more of a chance. But Liverpool probably still back themselves to win as well. Let's say during the game, it's a struggle, and let's say it's 1-1 going into the last half an hour, they can always bring on Salah, and all of a sudden he can get a couple of quick goals and they can still win the game. So I wouldn't be surprised if Slot does that. But look, with Salah being 32 and this being a League Cup game and they got a big Premier League game, I just wouldn't be surprised if they rest him.
Fair. If you're looking at their head-to-head, don't make for good reading. We've conceded, what's that, 17 goals to them in the last 5 games, 10 goals in our last 2 games. With the injury problems that we have,
Even that Wid was lucky.
Yeah, very lucky with probably the worst VAR decision that we've ever seen
and
since
goal in the last minute and 9 men.
Yeah,
it was like everything went in our favour in that game.
So with 10 goals conceded in the last 2 games, with the injury problems that we have in the back line particularly that we saw really hurt us in the game a week or 2 ago against Liverpool, how the hell do we stop that happening again?
We're just going to have to outperform ourselves. We're going to have to somehow go find an extra gear from somewhere. Decky's going to have to be absolutely on it. We're going to have to... Sonny's going to have to be absolutely clinical on that left-hand side. I think Dom, if Van Dijk isn't there, maybe Dom looks at Kwanzaa and maybe looks at Konate and thinks I've got a better chance of really using my physicality against those guys than Van Dijk. Robertson hasn't been his best this season, although maybe Tsimikas comes in anyway, but maybe their wings is something we can really try. The midfield threes... it's difficult as well. Yeah, look, there aren't many options I'm looking at and thinking there's going to be many chances to get too many advantages, but they're a solid team. The midfield is hard as nails. Anyone they play, they're going to be tough. It's going to be very difficult to win that midfield battle physically. We're just going to have to really put it on them. We're going to have to find some sort of period in the game where we've opening them up and there's a bit of chaos and we can really take advantage of it. And we're going to have to defend a lot better than we have been. And I know it's hard with defenders we have on the pitch, but we're going to have to find a way to do it because otherwise this game could be out of sight. And look at that, they've got 1 injury going to this game compared to our 10. It's just crazy, the circumstances, but that's it.
Yeah, it is a daunting task coming up against this Liverpool side in such an important game for us, but... What I'm looking at as well, I wanted to get your opinion on what is going on with this fan base at the moment. I know what's going on, but I've never seen in my lifetime a game as big as this, and there's still so many tickets available to be sold on the website. It's actually mind-boggling to me. No matter what's going on at the football club, wherever you're 18th or 5th or 6th or top or whatever, a cup semi-final should be sold out within seconds. And it's not exactly expensive tickets as well. It's like probably the cheapest tickets that you're going to get at Spurs in this current season. And it's actually mad that there's a semi-final. We're all so desperate for a trophy. And there's still so many tickets available. And I've heard the excuse going, oh, yeah, but it's just after Christmas and, people can't afford it and stuff like that, which is fair enough. I understand that. But that would not, if Spurs were doing well and there was a good feeling around Spurs, that thing about Christmas and no money and short on money would not even be coming to the conversation.
I just think a lot of people are expecting a defeat. That's probably
but
why.
It's a semi-final, guys. Like, come and support the team.
Look, I think like that, and you think like that, but there's probably a number of fans who just can't take the pain of going there and watching a heavy defeat. That's what they're thinking. Not to say that I necessarily think that definitely will happen, albeit there's a good possibility it might happen. I just think there's a lot of fans thinking with what's going on at the moment, we're probably going to lose. Do I really want to sit there and watch us lose heavily in an embarrassing way in the semi-final? There's probably some fans who feel like that. I don't know what portion it is. It's not a good way to think, but that's probably what some fans are thinking right now. And it's a shame they think like that. And hopefully they get proven wrong. But that's the only real reason I can see why fans would not turn up. Look, I still think it's going to be near sold out. I still think there's, I don't think you're going to go there. There's going to be large swathes of empty seats. I think it'll still, by and large, be a near full crowd. But you're right. In years gone by, this game would have been tickets for this game would have been gold dust, and it's not like that this time.
Yeah, and it's really frustrating to me because I think in a game like this, no matter what your feelings are towards the club, what your feelings are towards the manager, what your feelings are towards the playing staff, you just got to go hell for leather and just support the team through it in games like this. It's a semi-final, man, a chance to get to Wembley and a chance to see your team lift the trophy. Like, come on, guys. Like, we have to just be there. We have to make it a cauldron. We all complain about the atmosphere in the stadium, and we all complain about these kind of things on a regularity. Well, this is the chance to make a difference. This is it. This is the semi-final. This is the first leg at Tottenham, and then we've got to go up to Anfield in a month's time. Yeah, the game could be gone by then, but for this 90 minutes of football, everything, all your concerns and everything should be brushed to one side, and you should be supporting the team. And that's what really annoys me about this game not being sold out, because it needs to be the biggest cauldron possible, and that's how we're going to get anything from the game.
You need to be the 12th man.
100%. So if you're going, please don't come back with any voice, because we need to just sing our hearts out. And I think we did that against Manchester United, and I think we did that against Man City.
Yeah,
and
the cup games, we've been up for it.
Yeah, and I think that it did add something extra on the day. You know, walking towards the ground against Manchester United, I could hear the fans in the concourse on the high road. And we need to hear that again tomorrow night. We really do. But me and Sim are going to be there. Me and Sim will be there, and me and Sim are not going to be coming back with a voice. So the match review stuff the next day might be a bit of a struggle, win, loss, or draw. But what was your prediction going into it?
I am going to go for... What am I going to go for? God, it's so hard to predict. I'm going to try and be optimistic and go for a 2-2 draw.
2-2. Desmond.
Try and take something back to Anfield, keep the game open, and hopefully when we get players back, we can give a real good fight. I think we'd be probably lucky to get a 2-2 draw with the way things go. And look, if we can get a win, that'll be incredible. Even if it's by a goal, I'll take that hands down. But I think the best we could hope for right now is probably a 2-2 draw.
Well, you go a 2-2 draw. I raise you a 2-2 draw, and I go for a full-on deluded 4-2 win to Tottenham Hotspur. 4-2 win to Tottenham Hotspur.
4-2.
We got to take something to Anfield, guys. We have to. I don't think a draw is good enough to take to Anfield. I don't even think a 4-2 win's probably a good enough to take to Anfield, to be honest. But yeah, I'm just going to go full-on deluded, and I'm hoping the Spurs fans can act as that 12th man. And it's what we got. It's what we got to do to get to the cup final this year.
Ben got Sim's balloon.
I've borrowed it just for this week.
Just for the semi-final.
Just for the semi-final, I've borrowed Sim's balloon. But let's do it. Let's do it, guys. That is your match preview for the Tottenham against Liverpool game in the Carabao Cup semi-final first leg. Let's make it a cauldron, people, and let's take the win up to Anfield. Big up to everyone in the comments. And we're going to finish off the stream today on Review the Prem, where me and my brother go head-to-head in predicting Premier League outcomes. The scores on the doors are 164 to Sim to 173 to me. And the way the scoring works is 5 points for a completely correct scoreline, 1 point for a correct result. Starman, once you pick that man, you can't pick them again for the rest of the season. 5 points for a goal, 2 points for an assist. And let's see how we got on our predictions over the weekend. Starting off at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Tottenham 1, Newcastle 2. Both of us went for 3-1 to Newcastle. But yeah, I think I was pleasantly surprised by the Spurs performance on the weekend. I think we lost 2-1, but we definitely could have taken something from the game, which was very frustrating. Bad refereeing, I thought, throughout. Newcastle could have had about 2 men sent off on the day. But I think pretty much they won the game in a 25-minute period where they absolutely dominated us and created bucket loads of chances.
Yeah, and I think given all the circumstances going into this game, illness, injury crisis, in mid-game, Dragishin going off at half-time as well. Tottenham had a lot of circumstances to contend with. And I thought they really stood up and gave it a really good go. And Newcastle coming into this game 5 wins in a row, probably expecting a heavy defeat considering how they went to Old Trafford and really battered Man United. I thought Tottenham did really well. I think the handball was a disgraceful decision. I think it's a handball. I think the goal should be ruled out. I think Newcastle maturity benefited from Joel Linton sticking his hand out and blocking Bergval's pass and pretty much set up the goal. So I think we had right to be aggrieved. I think that should have been ruled out. But other than that, obviously, yeah, some other decisions. I think Dan Burn should have been sent off for a second bookable offence. I think Joel Linton was lucky to stay on the pitch. But Tottenham just couldn't create those good enough chances in that second half to really force the issue. And as much as they put everything into the game, it was just unlucky in the end. But Newcastle 6 wins, I think, in a row now after that, and right in that race for top 4.
Yeah, absolutely. Villa against Leicester next. It finished 2-1 to Aston Villa. Again, we both went for 3-1 to Villa, but it was only 2-1 with Ross Barkley and Leon Bailey getting on the score sheet for Aston Villa with Mavdivdi. It all came in like the stretch of like 20 minutes, all the goals, didn't it? And it was a stalemate in the first half. No one really wanted the win. I thought Leicester were doing a good job on containing Villa, really. But yeah, Villa got the job done in the end.
Yeah, it seemed like Leicester had learned a few lessons from how they were playing earlier parts of Van Nistelrooy's tenure, where they were just so open, conceding loads and loads of chances. That wasn't quite happening in this game, but Villa, the quality showed through in the end. A really nice goal from Ross Barkley, giving them the lead. But they did concede straight away, and you thought maybe Villa were going to snatch a draw here, but Leon Bailey got the winner with 15 minutes to go. It's a good win in the end for Aston Villa. Puts them in 8th, still right. Look, in the hunt for Europe, they're 4 points away from Chelsea now, who are in 4th. So they definitely haven't ruled out their top four exploits. They're still pretty inconsistent. Their last 5 games is loss, win, loss, draw, win. So still not the whole season. They've kind of been. I mean, like a lot of teams, they've been inconsistent. But this is a good win, and they'll take heart in it.
Yeah.
Leicester, on the other hand, that's another loss though. 6 losses, I think, in a row now.
Yeah, I do think you're looking at Leicester and Southampton, the writing's on the wall a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah, it's hard to see them turning it around.
Bournemouth against Everton, it finished 1-0 to Bournemouth. Sim went for 1-1, I went for 1-0, so a big fat 5-pointer comes in my direction. And yeah, I think Bournemouth, got there in the end. With about 10 minutes to go, they broke the deadlock with a brilliant goal, by the way. What a ball in the box to Kirkes, and David Brooks with the volley into the bottom corner. I mean, a goal of the highest quality. But yeah, I mean, Bournemouth were peppering them for pretty much the whole game. I think they created 5 or 6 big chances on the day. Everton, I don't think they had much ambition going the other way. But yeah, Bournemouth, well-deserved 3 points in the end.
Yeah, I thought Bournemouth in the first half could have really been 2 or 3 up. They didn't take their chances, and I thought things really slowed down in the second half, and it looked like they were running out of ideas. But brilliant goal from Brooks, and that got the win in the end, and that bit of quality shone through. Everton they're struggling to score goals at the moment. They haven't. When was the last time they scored a goal, Everton? I can't remember. They got how many 0-0s they got? 1-0 loss this week, 2-0 loss against Forest.
Last goal was against Man City.
They scored Man City. That's 1 goal in their last 10 games?
Nah, because they beat Wolves 4-0.
Okay, so they beat Wolves 4-0, but they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In their last 10 games, right, they've scored 4 against Wolves, and they've got 1 against City. That's it.
Yeah, it's mad.
That's it. So 8 of their last 10 games they haven't scored. That's madness. And that's why Sean Dyche is facing the chopping block at the moment, apparently.
Sean Dyche is under a lot of pressure. And when you're looking at the results that Ipswich are getting at the moment, Everton are bang in trouble at the moment. And
they're 3 points away from Leicester in 19th.
They're talking about a tug of war for Graham Potter between Everton and West Ham. I mean, if Graham Potter goes to Everton, right, with the squad that they have, does he keep them up?
I don't know. I think he's got a much better chance of moulding West Ham into what he wants them to be than Everton.
I think Sean Dyche has a better chance of keeping them up with the football he plays than... I know they're not doing well at the moment.
They've scored 2 games.
I get that. But, we always talk about Everton. In the last 2-3 years, they've had relegation battles and then saved themselves, and they've always gone through a period like this. Maybe not as bad in terms of scoring goals, but they always go through a period where we're thinking, are Everton actually going to go down this season? But they always seem to save themselves. Yeah,
but maybe it'll be a year too much. Sometimes you just hit that year, and it's a bit too much. It might be. Who knows? Honestly, I think they should bring in Moyes. I'm not even joking. That's not even me joking. I think Moyes could come in and really invigorate them. He's a club legend. They love him there. I think he can.
They don't actually.
Why not?
Apparently Everton fans are dead against it.
From what I've seen, they don't seem that against it.
Well, I'm just saying what I've heard.
According to who?
My Everton family.
I see. I think Moyes. Why would they against it? Why would they not like him? He was brilliant there. He didn't leave on bad terms. He was there for over 10 years. He only left to go to Man United. He didn't get sacked. He was actually brilliant at Wolves. Everton. Sorry. His last job, he did really well at West Ham. Let's be honest. He got them consistent European football, and he ended up leaving, but he left after winning them a European trophy. He did a good job there. So
all I've been told is the majority of match-going Evertonians don't want him.
Maybe, but from what I've seen on social media, they seem open to it.
Yeah.
That's all I can go on. But I think they should. I think if they bring him in, it could reinvigorate them a bit, even if it's just an interim from now to the end of the season.
The context of this conversation is that me and Tim have a bet on this. We have a bet on this.
I think they should bring him in.
And
I think get Moyes back. One last dance.
If Moyes does come in from now to the end of the season, then I've got to do one of these episodes in fancy dress if Moyes doesn't come in from now to the end of the season, I guess Sim's got to do what? The last episode of the year, I guess, in fancy dress.
I think they should bring Moyes in.
I bet you do.
But I actually do. I actually think that would be a good appointment. I do think he's a better manager than Sean Dyche. I know Dyche should look. He's done well to keep him up, but clearly right now, whatever he's doing just isn't working at the moment. I know he got 3 0-0 draws in some big games, so fair play, but you just can't go through a period where you got scoring in 2 goals in 10 games. 2 games, sorry. In 2 of them, it's just not good enough. Even for a team like Everton, even on the squad they have, they should be scoring more goals than that. And the stats say their XG per game is one of the lowest in the league. That's throughout the whole season. So they're really struggling to create chances right now. So maybe that's why they're considering a change. And if this form carries on, they could well go down. They've got Villa next. Then they've got Spurs. They've got Brighton. I mean, there's some tough games coming up. So yeah, I do wonder if he's on his last legs.
Well, all will be revealed very, very soon, but it won't be Moyes, I guarantee you that. Next up is
Can't guarantee anything.
Next up is Crystal Palace against Chelsea. Finished 1-1. Sim went for 2-1 to Palace. I went for 1-1, so another 5-pointer comes in my direction. And I felt this was really a proper, one of those tales of 2 halves where Chelsea were the better team in the first half, got into the lead with Cole Palmer early on, couldn't get that second goal, and that was the thing that hurt them, because I think Chelsea didn't really come out for that second half, did they? And Palace were the ones in the ascendancy, and they finally got that goal with Mateta with less than 10 minutes to go, and the game finished 1-1.
Yeah, I think it was a close game. I think Chelsea will be annoyed in that first half. They didn't probably kill it off, but I mean, they didn't create loads of chances. They had a couple of moments. Jackson went through and should have maybe made it 2 with a one-on-one finish, but he put it wide with the outside of his boot. But it would have been a good finish. He would have got it in from there. Obviously, Palmer scored a nice goal to give him the lead. But it was one of those games where you always felt like if Chelsea didn't get the second, they're always going to get a caught out in one moment, and that's exactly what happened. Palmer gets caught in a really bad situation right in the middle of the Chelsea half. Palace were just ruthless. Clinically got it to Eze, laid off Mateta, and bam, it's 1-1. And if anyone was going to win it actually looked like Palace were going to win it. They had a couple of moments where they looked like they could create chances, and it could have been a winner there, but they were well worth their draw. And look, Palace have, as we've said, they're becoming a lot harder to beat. They've really turned their form around. They've got a really good point in this one. I think I know they're still only right now they are 5 points clear of the relegation. So as things stand, they're still kind of in that mix, but and they've only won 4 games the whole season, but I do think they've really turned their form around. They've become a lot better in recent weeks, and I think they'll be fine for it when it comes to relegation. I really do. I don't think there'll be any problems there, and I think they'll end up finishing probably where they are, maybe a couple places between 13th and where they are. They'll probably finish there, but I can't see anyone below them right now finishing above them.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just think they've got good players there. They really do, and they've got a good manager there as well.
Yeah, exactly. From Chelsea's point of view, though, 4th game in a row, no points dropped, 2 defeats, 2 draws. They're now only 2 points ahead of City, 3 points ahead of Bournemouth in 7th. So if this carries on, they could find themselves mid-table very soon.
Yeah, Maresca out.
Maybe Maresca's second half of the season. Maresca.
Yeah, it's kind of followed him around, hasn't it? It's followed him from Leicester. Because I was hearing when Maresca did leave Leicester, I did see on social media quite a lot of Leicester fans being like, "Oh well, he flopped in the second half of the season anyway."
Well, they did. They were like 12 points clear, weren't they? And they completely threw it away, and then they ended up just clawing it back at the end.
They clawed it back a little bit at the end, but they were 12 points clear, and then they were second at one point, weren't they?
Yeah. So they did throw away. So look. Chelsea definitely stumbling at the moment, and it's not as if they've been unlucky. They've not played well really in the last few games.
Yeah,
they really have stumbled. So they've got to get back into form.
Yeah. Next up is Manchester City 4, West Ham 1. Man City with back-to-back wins for the first time in God knows how long. Sim went for 3-0. I went for 2-0. And yeah, this was pretty much a battering. West Ham, again, another manager that's seriously under pressure at the moment with Julian Lopetegui. Sounds like they are putting the feelers out. I think there was a picture of Tim Stainton and Graham Potter in a meeting together. So, I mean, when you start seeing that, the writing is really on the wall for Lopetegui. But on Man City, Erling Haaland back in the goals, 2 goals in this one. Phil Foden back in the goals as well. And I thought Savinho looked so good in this game, laying on 2 assists on the day. De Bruyne as well, notching himself an assist. So, yeah, look, Man City are going to have a lot harder test to come, but good for them to, put 4 goals past West Ham.
Definitely, again, what we said about them last game, Savinho. I think he's been underrated this season because of the lack of output, but he's really getting that output in the last few games. You can really see what he brings. Some of his assists were absolutely fantastic, right on the money for the Man City attackers, and I think his dribbling ability is brilliant. I think it was only a matter of time before the output would come, and now we're starting to see it regularly. I think West Ham again. They were very, very passive in their play, just allowing Man City to play their football. However, what I would say is West Ham did have a number of openings in this one. And if Kudus had his shooting boots on, this definitely could have been a lot closer than the scoreline suggested. I thought West Ham definitely had chances. And Man City were not secure in any way. I do think that 4-1 scoreline flatters them a bit. And obviously they did get a goal late on through Fulkrug, but it was too little too late. But Man City, with the players they have, if you allow them the opportunity to play and you don't really try and ruffle their feathers and stop them from playing, they can do that to you, even in this period, and they showed that. So fair play to Man City, good win. That's now 2 wins on the trot for them. So they're right back in it when it comes to getting back into that top 4. They're 6 points away from second now and Arsenal. So, you wouldn't bet against them closing that gap, especially if they can reinforce in January.
Yeah, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, they've got them Liverpool and Arsenal both coming up pretty soon. Well, they've got Chelsea at the end of January. Then they got Arsenal away at the beginning of Feb, and Liverpool at home in Feb as well. So, if they can start putting a run of form together and beat those teams, can they be back in the title race?
They need to show that they can really start winning games consistently again. But if they can, then why not? Especially if they can get a signing or 2 this month. And they're talking about Marmouche. Maybe they'll get a centre mid. But yeah, whereas a West Ham, I think, for West Ham's point of view, it's just the manner of how they're losing games. They just keep getting battered. And even when they win, they don't look convincing. They're winning like scrappy wins where they get a bit lucky and things like that. So from that point of view, look, it's not necessarily the results in itself. It's just more the how they look, how they're playing. The performance-wise have just been so bad, and that's why he's on his way out. It looks like they've had enough of him. To
be fair, though, the batterings that they've taken is all against teams where you expect them to get battered. Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal.
I mean, they've conceded 39 goals. I mean, that's only worse than by
14,
Leicester and Southampton.
14 were in those 3 games.
14 were in those 3 games. They're not playing well in any game.
No, I agree that, but I mean, you're saying that they keep getting battered.
How many batterings they taken?
I mean, since like November time, it's only those 3 games.
I'm saying the whole season.
Yeah, they got battered by us. They got battered by Forest.
Yeah, how many batterings? That's what I'm saying. So many batterings this season. A lot of batterings. Not just since November, even before. And that's why they've had enough. They just.
I think Lopetegui should be sacked, and I think he should have been sacked before that. But I'm just saying, in the recent weeks, those are the only teams that they've been battered by.
Yeah, but they haven't played well in any other game.
I agree. I'm not disagreeing with you.
But they've also been battered at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, and I agree. Lopetegui should be sacked.
But I don't understand the point you're making.
You say they keep getting battered, but they don't keep getting battered.
They do. You just said at the beginning of the season and in recent weeks they keep getting battered.
Yeah, but it's only against the top teams.
Not only though.
Yeah, it is.
You just said at the beginning of the season they were getting battered.
They've got battered by the 3 teams sitting at the top.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man City are not sitting at the top, but Man City, Arsenal, and and then it's Forest and Spurs. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. So there's 5 batterings. That's a lot for any team. That's a lot of batterings. I think when that's a 1 in every 4 games they're getting battered. That is keep getting battering.
Yeah. But I'm just saying in recent weeks it's only against the top teams. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know. That's not really a defence.
I'm not trying to defend him. I'm just saying that you saying they keep getting battered, but they haven't in recent weeks.
They have. 1 in every 4 games they get battered.
All right, fine.
I don't understand what I'm saying. That's wrong. Okay, but yeah, he's little car alarm.
Oh, there's always bloody alarms going off in this bloody place.
But there you have it. I think he'll be out, and I think Potter will do a really good job if he's appointed. He's got a lot to work with there, got a lot of attacking talent. So I think Graham Potter should be licking his lips at that job, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you do look at the table, though, with West Ham. They're level points with Man United, only 1 point behind us.
Yeah. As I said, I think it's the performances more than anything that's getting him the sack, more than the results.
Yeah.
As much as the results aren't good as well, but again, they keep getting battered a lot. Even when they do win, they're not playing well, even when they do win. And they don't seem to be... They look at the attacking talent they have. They should be doing a lot more with that. They're just not. And defensively, you know, he's a manager who prides himself on being resolute and hard to beat, and they conceded 39 goals. So...
Yeah. Who do we have next? Southampton against Brentford. What a game this was. 5-0. Another 5-0 battering at home for Southampton under 2 different managers. Brentford were just on fire in this game. I think they created about 11 big chances on the day, and it could have been a lot more than 5. Sim went for 2-1. I went for 1-1 in the muddiest predictions. But yeah, unplayable Brentford.
Yeah, they completely tore them to shreds. Wissa and Mbeumo top form. They completely took Southampton to the sword, and it just goes, look at the first couple of games, it looked like Southampton has slightly improved under this manager, but on this evidence, he's still got a lot of work to do to turn this ship around. And they went from losing 5-0 to only 1-0 in the past couple of games and 2-1, but now another 5-0 battering. So clearly, a lot of stuff to sort out. I just think the writing's on the wall for them. They set Martin, but I just don't think it's going to save them.
Yeah, I feel like this guy has been come in to just bring them up next season.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, Brentford though, Brian Mbeumo, man, what a season this guy is having. I'm not sure what the numbers are behind him, but he just seems to score every week. No matter if they win or lose, he's always on the score sheet.
Yeah, what a season. 13 goals for him, 10 goals for Wissa. Those two have really made up for the absence of Tony, and they haven't missed him at all. So really fantastic. First of all, fantastic management from Frank to kind of adjust to that situation, but also brilliant seasons from them. But now the situation is, how long will they hold on to Mbeumo?
Yeah. But yeah, I was talking
They nearly lost Wissa.
I was talking about my muddy prediction of 1-1. I didn't even clock that you predicted Southampton to win in this game.
Well, I considered Brentford's away form has been so bad. I thought Southampton had been better recently, but yeah, clearly it was wrong.
Brighton against Arsenal at the Amex. It finished 1-1.
Should have gone for your weekly prediction.
I don't know why I didn't, man. I don't know why I didn't. We both predicted Arsenal to win 2-1, and Arsenal take the lead in the first half, and you're thinking, Brighton have been really poor of late. Maybe.
Oh, sorry, no, keep going.
And maybe Arsenal will go on and have a convincing win, but I felt like Brighton get a penalty in the second half, which I thought it was a ridiculous decision, that penalty. After the penalty, Arsenal did nothing to go and try and get the lead again. I thought Arsenal were embarrassing, really, after the 1-1.
I thought they were. I actually thought before the 1-1 they weren't particularly amazing. And as much as they had the control of the game, obviously WeAre scored a nice goal, and they did go 1-0 up, and they were probably like the better of the sides, albeit they didn't exactly create loads of chances. And I actually thought, again, teams are adjusting to their corner tactics. I'm not saying they're not dangerous from corners anymore because they still scored against Brentford. But what Brighton did, and it's what Palace did, and it's what Brentford did as well, is they're leaving 3 players up from corners now, up front. So it means that the corner box is less congested. It also means Saliba doesn't go up from corners as much as well. So it's meaning that Arsenal are less of a threat. So it's quite interesting to see how teams are adjusting to Arsenal's corner tactics. What I would say about the penalty, was it a wrong decision? Probably. I think it was harsh. But I don't think it's as much of a disgrace as people are saying, because people are calling it a clash of heads. People are describing it as if there was a cross came in and Saliba just mistimed the header and it was just a clash of heads. It wasn't just a clash of heads. What happened was the ball comes to João Pedro. He flicks it with his head over Saliba and actually is running round him, and he's going to get the return pass. So he's running onto his own flick, right? And as he's running onto his own flick, Saliba comes in and mistimes his header and bumps his header into João Pedro. So it stops João Pedro getting onto his own flick, right? So it's not like it's a header where it's mistimed and it's a challenge where they both go up for a header and João Pedro wins the header and he's not getting onto his own header. He just goes for goal or something, and it's just a clash of heads. João Pedro is actively going to go and get his own flick on, right? So he is prevented from doing that by Saliba heading him. Now, the fact is Saliba does get a little touch on the ball. But on the flip side of that, it's not Saliba won the ball. João Pedro wins it first and flicks it onto Saliba's head. It's not that Saliba goes in for the challenge and wins the ball with his head. It's that João Pedro wins the header and flicks it onto Saliba, and then Saliba his head goes into João Pedro and prevents and actually prevents João Pedro. It's actually a bit more similar to a mistimed challenge than it is to a clash of heads, in my opinion. So I do think it's a lot different to people calling it a clash of heads like you would see in the middle of the park, where it is a 50-50. I do think it's more of a foul than people are suggesting. And I think if Saliba doesn't touch the ball, then I actually do think it is a foul. But Saliba does get a bit of the ball, and in that case, he's a bit unlucky that the fact is given a penalty, and albeit, given its referee's call and all this stuff, is there enough there for VAR to overturn it? I think it's actually a lot closer than people give it credit for. But I do think, do Arsenal have a right to feel a bit hard done by? Maybe a bit, because I think he does get a touch on the ball, and it's a bit of a soft penalty. But I also think people aren't looking at the situation right. I don't think it's just a normal clash of heads.
So it wasn't a penalty?
I think it's a soft one, but I can see why it was given. I think I can see why it was given, because it's not just a simple clash of heads.
I think if a penalty gets given away against us like that, I think we're fuming. I do think we're fuming.
Yeah, probably. I'm just saying it's not a simple clash of heads. I don't think it's as simple as what people are saying. It's just a normal clash of heads. That's not the case. João Pedro is flicking it over Saliba and running onto it, and then Saliba's head goes into João Pedro, preventing him from getting that flick on.
But he wins the ball.
Doesn't win the ball.
I mean, he gets a touch on the ball.
Yeah, but the ball gets flicked onto him. He doesn't win the ball.
I just think it's just one of those things where it's just an unfortunate event where the heads clash. And
see, that's what I'm saying. It's not.
It is.
It's not a clash of heads, though. It's like a mistimed challenge. That's what it's more like. It's more like a mistimed challenge because, as I say, it's not two players going up for a header. João Pedro flicks it over Saliba and is about to follow on and run through onto his own flick on. It's not like both players are going up for a header and the ball is gone after that. He's actively still in play, João Pedro, once he flicks that header on.
Whatever you say, I mean, it was incredibly harsh. It was incredibly harsh. And I do think Arsenal have a good reason to feel aggrieved for that one. But look, the reality is Brighton were kind of building their way into the game at that moment in time. They got their goal via the penalty, and Arsenal did nothing. If they've got any sort of title ambitions to be in this title race, they need to be doing more in these kind of games. And they keep dropping these kind of points. Everton, Brighton, and there was another one, Fulham as well, in recent weeks. And I know Liverpool dropped points this weekend, but these are the weekends when Liverpool drop points where they need to be taking maximum points. And this keeps happening to them.
Yeah, and now Saka, with the Saka injury, WeAre came in, did really well, but he's injured now for a few weeks, so that's another player gone. So that's going to really stifle them as well on the forward line. They already looked, even with Saka, a bit not creative. So I can really see them struggling on that department. And if anyone was going to win it later on, it was going to be Brighton. They had that big chance with Minter right at the end where they probably should have scored that. And they could have been easily a 2-1 win for Brighton. So I just can't see them having the consistency. Yeah, I know Liverpool can take advantage. So they're still only 6 points behind, albeit Liverpool have a game in hand. But again, are they going to go on this run where they're winning all these games? They'll win games, don't get me wrong, but I just see them dropping too many points.
Next up is Fulham against Ipswich. It finished 2-2. Sim took a 5-pointer in
That's
this
why
one.
I was shocked. I didn't know I had 2-2. I thought I had 1-1, so I was a bit surprised. So I'm happy with that.
And I've gone for 1-1. So 5 to Sim, 1 to me. Yeah, look, Fulham, they controlled the game in terms of possession. Ipswich just kept catching them out, didn't they? And I thought Fulham played a good game, but they just were too susceptible to the counter-attack. I thought Fulham were the better team here.
Fulham probably the better team, but I actually think Ipswich as well will feel like they could have easily won this game because obviously they took the lead. They went 1-0 up. I thought it was a fairly even game in that first half. I don't think there was too much in it, to be honest. I think, if anything, Ipswich could have had they did have the lead in the first half, didn't they? So I don't think that was completely against run of play. I thought it was quite an even game, but Fulham
3 penalties in this game.
They did step up in the second half, Fulham, and obviously they got the penalty. They levelled it up, but then straight away they got the penalty again, Ipswich, and I actually don't think it was a penalty. I actually think Castagna doesn't make much contact with the lap, much contact, and I think Ipswich were lucky to get that penalty and make it 2-1. But at 2-1, they hit the post there, Ipswich, right, and it's funny, they hit the post, and from that attack, Fulham get another penalty. So it easily could have been 3-1 Ipswich, and instead it made it 2-2 to Fulham, 2-2 in the game, and Fulham obviously get the point. Fulham, that's 2 home games in a row against bottom sides where they haven't won. 0-0 against Southampton and 2-2 against Ipswich. So I don't know if there's a pattern there. Great point for Ipswich in the end, albeit they'll be disappointed they didn't win, but just carries on some good form they've been having lately, where they beat Chelsea. A few weeks ago they beat Wolves, and now they got the draw. So put them right in the fight to save themselves relegation. I think they are playing well. Even when they were losing at the beginning of the season, they were having some good performances.
Yeah,
so.
they went through a bit of a period recently of not playing well and losing games. And it seems like they're over that rut a bit now, and they're starting to pick up some points and playing well.
Yeah, level on points with Wolves, 1 point behind Everton as well. So bit of a real relegation dogfight there.
Let's go to Anfield. Liverpool 2, Manchester United 2. Sim went for 4-1. I went to 5-0, all in the favour of Liverpool. And I was just shocked how poor Liverpool were actually playing in this game. Trent was all out at sea. Everyone's saying, oh, does he have one eye on Real Madrid and all that kind of stuff. They really decided to target down that side, Manchester United, and they got all sorts of joy. They really did. And Man United, this is the best I've seen them play since Amorim has come in. And Amorim looked like really frustrated after the game because he's like, why the hell can you play like this at Anfield, but not play like this week in, week out when we're getting battered to everyone that we're playing? And yeah, I mean, it is a massive source of frustration for Amorim, but is that kind of green shoots you're starting to see maybe the fruits of his labour now?
Potentially. Clearly they were much more up for it. You saw the challenges they were putting in. So strong. Maguire was putting in real strong challenges, and they were really up for it, Man United, and they seemed a lot more confident, very brave on the ball, getting forward, and they just seemed a lot more fearless in this game. And that's what they should be doing week in, week out. Albeit, even in this game, to be fair, you know, that game, they could have easily been behind in the first half with some of the chances Liverpool had. McAllister had a really good chance. Gakpo was one-on-one as well. So they were lucky that they didn't concede in that first half, to be honest. Albeit, Højlund also had a one-on-one, so they should have scored. But, so I guess they had as good a chance as they gave away, but it's not like they didn't give away chances. But brilliant goal from Martinez, got them in the lead. Shocked to everyone. It's like,
what a finish that was.
What a finish. But what was Trent doing? Gave the ball away and then just didn't defend. It was just shocking from him.
It was lazy. It was lazy, man. If I was a Liverpool fan watching that, I'd be fuming.
It was terrible. Just gave the ball away sloppily and then just allowed Martinez to walk into the penalty box. But fair play to Martinez. What a goal. Roof of the net. But then Liverpool did turn it around. They were 2-1 up within, I think, 15 minutes. Great goal from Gakpo. Yeah. Scored straight away. And then a penalty, which I did think, unfortunately, was a penalty. Hand was high from De Ligt, and Salah scored. And then from that point, you're thinking 2-1. You know, it's only going to be one winner here. And I thought Liverpool just allowed the game to drift at that point. I thought maybe they felt the game was won. Maybe they thought the game was over because they allowed it to drift. And Man United were just slowly creeping back into the game. It's not like they had a lot of chances, but they hit them with a sucker punch. Really nice goal from Diallo. And then from that point, Man United had chances to win it, especially right at the end from Maguire. What a miss that was.
Was that offside?
Might have been. It would have been a close one. Not definitive. It probably would have been close, but it might have been offside. But if it wasn't, what a miss from Maguire, blazing it over the bar. And albeit, Liverpool
also, a defender's finish.
To be fair, Liverpool also had chances to win it. They had a couple of chances from corners, didn't they? Van Dijk had a chance.
That Van Dijk chance, he would be fuming. And he was so visibly fuming throughout the game, wasn't he, Van Dijk? He's like, what is this defending around me?
Yeah, every time they got to him, he was just shaking his head like, who am I dealing with? So I think a draw is probably a fair result. I think Liverpool, to be fair, still had the better chances and still on the balance of play should have won the game.
Yeah, but you got to look at what Man U have been through over the last couple of weeks, the results, the performances that they're putting out. And then to go to Anfield with what Liverpool have done all season and to get a draw like that, playing like that, I think it's very impressive.
I'm not saying it's not impressive. I'm just saying on the balance of play, Liverpool could have easily won that game with the chances they had. But yeah, fair play to Man United. Going into this game, no one gave them a hope. It's probably the second year in a row no one gave them a hope and they got a draw at Anfield. So fair play. Liverpool will be a bit of a blow to them because this game, I mean, if they win, I mean, that would have been 8 points clear with a game in hand. I mean, you're thinking, how is anyone going to catch them? Now it's 6 points and it's still a bit more in the balance, but still big favourites, even with that draw. But I think they'll be really disappointed. They just didn't. There was a big opportunity to really take another step closer to that title, and they just missed it.
Yeah, which will be a big source of frustration to the whole of the team and Arne Slot because it was there for them. It was there for them, and very frustrating for them. But I just thought, like, you know, these games always get these big build-up, don't they? And then I thought the first half was such a boring game, really drab game, and then it just kind of burst into life in the second half. But yeah, last game was Monday Night Football at Molineux. It was 3-0 to Nottingham Forest, and you know, we're talking about title races. Nottingham Forest, whatever you want to say about them, at this moment of time, they're in it.
They're level on points of Arsenal, so if they're in it, then Forest are in it, and they keep winning. They're not conceding goals. They're playing very, very well at the moment. It's another brilliant win for them against the Wolves side, who've done well since the new manager came in, and they went there and won 3-0. Now, I was watching this game. I would say in the first half, they did take an early lead, but after that, Wolves had a series of chances to equalise, and they had shots cleared off the line.
Sells and Murillo, yeah.
Sells made some brilliant saves, and I think if one of those goes in, I think it's a different game. But they didn't score, and then just before half-time, there was that killer blow, the second goal for Forest and Quiswin, and just things went in their favour in this game. And then as soon as it went 2-0, it's game over. Forest are just going to shut up shop. And to be fair, that centre-back pairing just seemed to impress me week on week. Murillo and Milenkovic, beastly in the air, but especially Murillo, so proactive, so aggressive. And they're just so hard to beat at the moment, Nottingham Forest. And what a brilliant win. Right in there in the top four at the moment. They're on 40 points, 6 points clear of City and 5 points clear of Newcastle. So really giving themselves a bit of a buffer at the moment. And Nuno's doing a phenomenal job. Another brilliant win. Still delayed on with Albione. And they just keep going from strength to strength. What a brilliant win it was for them.
It's madness. 6 wins in a row in the Premier League. Yeah. 7 wins in their last 8. I mean, they're just getting wins like it's nothing at the moment.
And it's in a season where there's inconsistency throughout the league. If you just go on a run, it's just look where it can take you. They've got a run of 6 wins in a row, and bam, they're right in a title race. And that's what it can do for you.
Yeah. Can they do a Leicester?
Can they? Well, apparently they've got the same amount of points now as Leicester did at this stage. But Leicester only finished on 81. I don't think that'll be enough to win the league. So
can they get Champions League football? Do you think they will get Champions League football?
They definitely can now at this point, 100%. They're right in the race. They're right in it. As I've maintained, I watched the way they play. I do think there's going to be they will have a spell where all these things don't go in their favour, and they probably drop a few points, silly points where you don't expect. Because I look at their front line, and Wood is just scoring. He's so clinical at the moment, and I just look at their front line. Can that front line keep up for the whole season? I still doubt it. So I think they will be dragged into it more, into the 4th and 5th place. But the way they're going and the way they defend, they've got every chance.
I think the way they defend and how resolute they are at the back, and have they conceded the least goals or something, or one of the least goals? They've kept the most clean sheets.
19 goals, so they're level with Liverpool and only one ahead of Arsenal.
If they can keep up this defensive display for the rest of the season, they've definitely got it in them to nick a goal or 2 in each game. I'm not saying that they're going to win the league, but if they go and beat Liverpool next week, then you're going to have serious conversations for it.
Well, they're riding serious momentum at the moment, so I wouldn't put it past them getting a result there.
Can you imagine if they go and beat Liverpool next week, 3 points behind top of the league?
Yeah,
in the second half of the season.
Mad.
Got to give them massive credit, and if they get back into the Champions League, right? This is a team that have won the European Cup, back in the Champions League. I know Aston Villa the same as well, but you've got to give massive credit to not just the job that Nuno's doing, but also the recruitment team for the players that they've brought in.
Yeah, 100%. And everyone laughed at them the last couple of years for signing like 30 players, but just seems as though it's worked at the moment.
Absolutely. And we finish off on star men. Sim went for Ollie Watkins. I went for Mohamed Salah. I was actually really disappointed. Salah didn't get more than one. Used the Salah card, and he only got a penalty against Manchester United. But did give me 5 points over you in terms of the star man. So we finish on 20-point gap, 173 to 193.
I thought it was worse because I didn't know I had a 5-pointer in there, so I'm a bit relieved I at least had got one 5-pointer. But yeah, it wasn't a good week for me. But look, a lot of football to be played, so yeah, let's go.
Yeah, it's actually mad because it's just been toing and throwing every week where I've taken a 10-point lead, then you've got it back level, 10-point lead, back level, close to. But now I think it's probably the biggest gap of the season.
21 points. Yeah, time to turn it around next week.
All right. Well, there you have it. That is the review, the Prem. We'll be back for Predict the Prem on Thursday, I believe, in anticipation for another week. Oh, it's not. It's FA Cup. So we'll be back next week.
It'll be on Monday.
Next week, Monday. Yeah, midweek Premier League football next week, where you've got massive games. You've got Nottingham Forest against Liverpool, and you've got the North London Derby as well. North London Derby next week. Bloody hell. But yeah, that is it from us today. I want to thank you all for joining us. Semi-final tomorrow, so if you're going, sing loud, sing proud for the boys in Lily White. Like, subscribe and comment, and as always, come on you Spurs.